What up? Wade here. Welcome back to the Wade Alter Show. So today I got a special guest for you, and his name is Andrew Ferebee from Knowledge for Men. Actually, I had him on maybe about a year and a half ago, and it was one of the highest downloaded episodes. So I was really excited to bring him back on. And we talk about two really cool things. One, he just released a book. And so I wanted to get into, what the topic is. It's relating to dating. It's called the Dating Playbook for Men, and kind of get nostalgic about my own past there too. But the other piece was just how that integrates into his overall personal brand and business. And so we really kind of get meta and go behind the scenes. So if you've ever thought about, launching a book or how that would integrate into your business, as well as different passive income strategies and all sorts of cool stuff, you're really going to love today's podcast. So sit back, relax, and as always, enjoy. All right. So we have here Andrew Ferebee. It's good to be here.
Good to be here too, man. I haven't been on a podcast in a while. I've just been literally just working and enjoying life.
Nice, man. So we were flowing a little bit beforehand here, and I was like, shit, we got to turn on the recording and get this thing going.
Yeah.
So I guess to start off, kind of reiterating what we were talking about, I'd love to know just why now? I went through the book and I was like, interesting. I really want to know what is your kind of ideas behind releasing this thing. So
yeah, I'm just about to launch the second version of the Dating Playbook for Men. The first version has sold about 55 or 60,000 copies, and it's been selling. And people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, I just got your book, Andrew." And literally in that moment, I would just cringe and be like, "Oh, like there's probably, I don't know." Like I just didn't feel so good about someone reading something I did such a long time ago. I felt like I had so much more to share. I felt like I had grown so much, and I just would start sharing some of the new ideas I had, and people would just be all about it. And I thought I would just do like an 8-week upgrade to the book. And then slowly but surely, like almost a year later, which is here we are now, I'm just now launching the book. And I just fell in love with the whole process, like just really listening to guys again about what their challenges were. And I had just gone through a breakup myself. And so I felt like I was right there with the audience. And I wanted to help the audience grow and get the results that they wanted. But man, I wanted to share something that I felt was modern and current that would help guys get the results that they were looking for.
Nice. Well, I definitely want to get into this from a branding side and some other things. I guess let's dive into that first. So as I'm saying, like a lot of guys, I've been noticing more and more that one of the big sort of hiccups they have are like apprehensions. Is they're like, I don't feel like an expert. So it holds them back from even getting started in any sort of content out, much less writing a book on it or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what's just your kind of mindset about that? You've been exposed to so many successful authors and people and kind of, if you have any words of wisdom around that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't view myself as the authority on dating at all, but I've probably sold way more books than most people on the topic, and these books have made an impact. And so I feel like if I have something to share and there is a message, and I think the key with when you're getting started is you're authentic and like you're really thinking about the consumer and like, is this of value? Like, can this help someone? It doesn't need to help 10 out of 10 people, but can it help 2 out of 3? And that's a lot of people when you start, getting that message out there. And so, like I'm writing this book here, The Dating Playbook for Men, the second version. And I think this book is capable of selling 1 million copies, but I do not view myself as the number one leader in dating. But I do strongly feel that this book can add value. And if the value is there, then I'm being authentic and sharing my truth and my story about my own experiences and my own growth and challenges I'm overcoming, like within the book. I think that's valuable. That's valuable enough. And on top of it, like the book is only like $15. So I've never felt like I was the best, but I always felt like I had a message to share. And it was my duty to get that message out there.
Yeah, I think, what's really interesting about that is the shift. I was watching the interview with Jeff Bezos, and he talked about how most businesses, what they're focused on is their competitors. And he's like, what Amazon does differently is they focus on their customers. And so sometimes, that shift for me, it was very small nuance, but it was like mind blowing. And I feel it's interesting what you're saying there too. It's kind of like people are so focused on themselves and they're just kind of like, oh, what about me? Versus just like, yo, there's people out there that need this shit. They need the advice. And it was cool, like actually going through the book because there was a lot of shit in there. I'm like, oh, totally. I'm like, oh, I remember kind of teaching this shit in seminars. I'm like,
Right.
I wish I would have wrapped that all up in a nice little button down sort of step-by-step process here. And it's like,
Right.
I totally agree. Like the only book that I really know in the sort of maybe David Data, but then it's like you got like all the spiritual and kind of, it's not just like practical, like do step 1, step 2, step 3. So I guess kind of, yeah, it'd be cool. Like where was your sort of inspiration? I guess not inspiration, but kind of the biggest learning lessons. I know you talked about kind of devouring everything in the kind of pickup world and self-help and stuff like that. What would you say are kind of some of your biggest inspirations?
Honestly, it's all based off like my own experiences. But yeah, of course, like I interviewed a lot of people. I had been to different sort of events and even seen you previously on stage before, like at those events. Like I had been around the circle, but honestly, like everything just came from my own experiences of just trying things and, going up to girls and talking to girls and dating girls and following up and how do I select the right one that's going to be a best fit? Like it's all just my personal experiences. But of course there's influences from books and from events, but man, ultimately, like I just, the book is about my own fun experiences. Like I don't feel like I was like really following someone and like they were telling me what to do. Like I was just going out and having fun. And I just always had the growth mindset where I would look at what I did, I would learn, and then I would just go out and try again. And I would evaluate my own sort of like mistakes, like prior and after, so that I could come out and like do better the next time. But I think just having the growth mindset and persistence will allow you to almost accomplish anything.
Yeah, that was something I'd heard of that book before, and a couple of people had recommended it, but that was the first time I saw it like explained out was in your book.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
Is it, what's her name?
Dr. Carol Dweck. She's an older woman. She has a book and it's basically like, if you have the growth mindset, you basically do anything, whether it's in business, whether it's in dating or any hobby. Like recently I just picked up the guitar and I'm just applying the growth mindset and I'm already sort of jamming, and it's like, you can do anything you want. I would say that book and then Mastery by Robert Greene. Like if you combine those two books, because you kind of do need to follow some sort of like path. And I think Robert Greene lays it out pretty well. And I think when you combine those two books, like it's the world is your oyster. Like wherever you are, like you always suck, and then you just learn and grow. You continue to take action.
Yeah, that's something like my solo podcast that I did a few days ago was on creativity, and it's interesting because like there's a big root of like the NLP background where they talk about, and in the book you give the examples of like I'm lazy or like I'm an introvert, and what they say in NLP, you're like just add acting. So it's like I'm acting lazy, or I'm
right.
What it does is it moves it away from an identity level statement into like a behavior.
Right. It's separate.
Yeah, you give your power away, right?
Right.
So I'm like, shit, I got to read this book because that's like, I'm like, man, no one's cut from a different cloth. Like if you want to be an extrovert, if you want to be a public speaker, if you want to be like more creative, like I said, I think most people just give their power away because they're just like, and again, same thing with the dating stuff too. I think that was the thing that actually for me really did empower me to know that I could do anything. Because I'm like,
was dating
from like a non-assertive person,
right?
Just was kind of a passive dude, kind of go with the flow, and realizing like you go out at night to a nightclub and you try to pull that shit out, like you're not going to get very far.
I feel like women can bring out so much insecurity in men that a lot of your fears and anxieties are going to like come out. Like it like roots out all of your past traumas because it's such a like rejection is such a painful experience for a lot of men, even men who are like rich and successful. Like this doesn't just apply to a guy who's like just getting started in life. He just graduated college. Like I know men who are very successful who have millions of dollars in cash, like not net worth or anything like that, where it's paper money, like men who are really rich and they can't approach a woman for the life of them. And like they'll have to resort to like using some sort of like paid service to meet women. It's really weird, and spending lots and lots and lots of money like for like some sort of like matchmaker service, like 10, 15K to like meet women, when it's like, yo, just like face your insecurity. She's right there. Yeah. Like you don't need someone to like talk to her to pay her to come meet you. So like, I think the dating journey, it's such a transformational experience. I think for a lot of guys, I think yourself included.
Talk about like the worst way to like the precedence to start at the beginning of a relationship. Like I had to pay to meet you. Like, I mean, it's just like, that's
yeah,
what I said.
the frame's messed up. The frame's messed up.
I say, like, it's interesting for me. Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I'm like, if I look at the first girl I dated, so I dated her for like 8 years. If I met,
that's a long time, man. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Was that college or high school? Like you met her in high school or college?
Both. Yeah. 16,
okay.
Like 24.
Wow.
And so that was the thing. Like I had no experiences like dating. I didn't even know. I'm like, oh, I got my wife. I don't need to. My parents were high school sweethearts too.
Right.
Like,
yeah, especially that Midwest too. Like you, so I know it's Chicago, but you're probably not from the city of Chicago, right? Like you're from a smaller.
I'm from like the suburbs of Wisconsin.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
More small town. Like,
yeah, even more small town. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just like, my parents were high school sweethearts, so they didn't teach me anything about dating either. So I was just, follow the pattern, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then I turned 24 and I'm like out of college and I'm like, what the hell do I do now? Like I have no idea. And
right.
I didn't even know people were going out and doing that. Like I was so oblivious.
Oh yeah, me too.
So,
yeah.
Midwestern. But that relationship, I mean, it was all right, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But since then, 15 years later, a bunch of relationships, all the inner game and that stuff. I'm like, I could meet that same girl today and she would be a completely different person.
Right.
Because of the precedents I'd set of like,
right.
And I'm like, even my girlfriend now, like we met at 3 a.m. She was there with some dude. I pulled her off of some guy, like, and like, just like boss moves right from the start.
Is this like in LA or is this in
Chicago? This is in Chicago. Yeah.
Okay. So you brought your girlfriend to LA.
Yeah. And then, we moved to LA.
Okay.
Together. Yeah.
Oh, see, even more boss. You like you uprooted her life.
And that's that frame from the start. I literally think like the approach is like a microcosm of your entire relationship, right? Like that initial. And so, it sucks. And I think you said this well in the book, but it's just that kind of the old, like easy decisions, hard life, or like hard decisions, easy life. Like it's not fun to get good at approaching. It ends up being fun if you get really good at it. But you're like, do I really want to do this? But the thing is by doing the badass move, that's the thing that leads to all of a sudden, girlfriend and a great relationship, right?
It makes you come alive too. Like when you actually face your fears and like you're in that moment, like you're alive. And so much of what I'm trying to do in the book is just help guys be more alive. I feel like so many guys are just zombies, like literally running around, or not even running around, just like moping around and just kind of going through life, like just 9 to 5 and get by. Even if you're an entrepreneur, like entrepreneur is not the escape into like all of a sudden you're alive and you're happy. In fact, from what I have seen, entrepreneurs seem to be, not living, because they're working so hard and, there's so much expectation on them to like, quote unquote, hustle and crush it that in fact, like they're not going on vacations. They're not like enjoying their weekends as they should. And they're working super late. But granted, that's not every entrepreneur and they do have, they can eventually get out of that. But coming alive, even in a relationship, like when you're doing a bold move and like you pick up your girl and like spin her and kiss her, or like you're just doing something that is very like masculine energy that is like polarizing her feminine. I feel like those are almost priceless moments. Like you look back and you're like, oh, so like, it just makes you feel good. Like you can really like melt into that moment of, wow, like I really did that. And other people, or like if you have kids, like they would be proud of you. Like, oh, that's my dad. Or maybe you don't have kids yet, but when you do, I feel like that's just such like a freeing experience that I feel men have lost. And so the book is titled The Dating Playbook, but in many ways, that's just, dating is the vehicle I've chosen to help men become more grounded and become more alive in their life.
I still think it's like, if I look at the last 10 years of my life, the social circle that I've developed and the friends that I have, I even had a guy, I remember I was doing like a 30-day boot camp with this guy in Dubai. So we 30 nights. 30 nights.
Oh, 30 nights. Okay. Wow. It's insane.
Actually, they're like halfway through, like it was him and one other guy. Like, can we stop for a night? I'm like, I'm here if we want to rock this, but like halfway through, he's like, dude, super successful guy. He's like, you basically like had the cheat code. He's like, you went straight to the end. It's like, usually you go through like the Scarface, right? It's like, you get the money, you get the power, then you get the girl. Yeah. He's like, you just went straight to the girls, man. And I'm like, I didn't realize that at the time. I was, like I said, just 24 and kind of didn't know what the hell I was doing. But it is like the power of being able to attract the woman that you're into and not have to hope for happenstance or whatever.
Right.
It just leads to, I don't think there's a better, other than like maybe copywriting or product launches where you're kind of, it's like alchemy in a way. But I feel like the ability to see a girl and go up and attract her is like, there's nothing better as a man, I feel,
Especially as like a young single guy. Also, I'll also say, like, even if you're in a relationship, to know that you have that skill is actually really important, because now when you're putting up with like, you'll have more backbone in your relationship because you're not as fearful of being single again. And in fact, it might be more exciting to be single, but it's good for her to know that you have that skill, because she knows too that like if she acts out of line, or if she's breaking boundaries, or if she's like starting to, not act in a way that you guys have agreed to with your boundaries, that you can go out and like, you're not afraid to go out and find another woman. I feel like that's when a woman really starts to like kind of act out of alignment with like the relationship, is when she knows that you have no other option and you're her only option. Like that can be very dangerous. Like, it's more healthy when both parties are choosing actively to be together.
Yeah. And sometimes when it flips, like guys get too invested or too needy halfway through, or whenever it flips, it's just like, it's going to end. Maybe take like a month, might be 3 months, or
Yeah.
Well, I want to definitely get on some business side of this, but I got one more question.
Yeah.
I'll just like living vicariously through you, I guess, since I've been in a relationship for over half a decade here. I have not been single since the whole like Tinder app game, Bumble, and whatever is hot these days. So like the whole Instagram shit, and like, making sure you got cool stories because she's going to see your stories and shit. So what have you noticed, I guess, since the updated version here? I don't know much in here, but I guess just from your own experience, how are things different now than 5 years ago?
Yeah, things have changed, because even I'm a relationship guy myself. And like, I just recently got out maybe 6 months ago of a relationship. And so I've been single. And so like, it is first, like the fundamentals are the same. Like the fundamentals are still there, but the way in which you meet women and the way in which you're following up with women seems to have changed a little bit, especially in the follow-up. Like the phone number is not what it was like 3 years ago. Like getting a phone number is really like, it's kind of like you're almost invading her privacy is what it is today. Whereas like going for social media such as Instagram seems to be the new phone number, because Instagram, you can DM, plus you can actually call and FaceTime on Instagram now. So a lot of people don't realize you can FaceTime for free on Instagram. And that's what I have been using. I just get the Instagram, and it's great because Instagram shows her a lot about your life. And it can expedite the process of attraction, because she can see like, oh, he has friends, like, oh, he does things with his life. Like, oh, he's like some sort of forward progressing guy. Like, oh, it looks like he has a lot of adventure. Oh, he has some photos with like a cute dog he owns. But it gives, like, with a phone number, she can't see any of that. All she has is that like 10-minute or like 2-hour interaction that you guys had. And she probably was, under the influence of alcohol. So like, she doesn't really have an idea of who you are unless you start dating. But you might not actually get to that first date because she has no idea who you are. And there's a lot of other guys that she's talking to. So Instagram is the most powerful dating app. Like, I don't know what people are doing on Tinder. If you're a dude and you're not really that great, look, I hate to say it, like, if you're more of like an average
official, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you're more, because those apps, in many ways are built for women. I mean, Bumble was built for women, and that's where, they're really, a lot of these girls are just using those apps to get followers and just to grow their accounts. But Instagram, I feel like you can have an equal or a greater playing field, because you can post like an adventurous lifestyle that a woman can see, and then you can start the DM, and then DM is basically what was formerly text game, and it's just the DM inside Instagram. So once you're there, it's pretty much the same, and then you're just using more media to connect with her. So instead of just text, like, you're sending more photos and short videos instead of just like text, which is what text game was. And so that is a little bit different. But I do want to like unveil something that is like really interesting that I discovered not too long ago. And I haven't met any man who knows about this, but every guy's like pretty shocked. So like, I'll announce it here, but every guy I've shared it with, it typically is a game changer, which is basically understanding like what women are doing on Instagram. So there's an app called Facetune. Have you heard of it? Wait.
No.
Exactly. See, I'm like 100% conversion rate on guys not knowing about it. But what it does is it's an app that all women use this. Like if they have some sort of following or if they're attractive in any way, like they're using this app. And what it does is it makes them instantly like way more attractive. And a lot of guys don't know about this. They think they're actually like talking to this one. She's like a 10 out of 10. It'll instantly like clean up the complexion. Like you just tap on the photo and you'll have a perfect face. Like it looks like it just did her makeup. Like it'll clean the teeth perfectly white. You can enlarge your breasts, like very subtle. You can enlarge your glutes. You can remove all like cottage cheese, give yourself a flat stomach. Like you can do what a Maxim magazine model has, or like a Victoria's Secret model. Like your everyday girl who works at Starbucks can use this app and like instantly just make herself much more attractive. It's important for guys to know this because they're fawning and ogling all these women, not realizing that they're not even looking at her. I went on numerous dates and I was so confused. Like I would have to not do like a double take, but like a triple take. Because I'd look at the woman and I'd be like, wait, and I'd like have to like, she like gets up to get a drink. I'm like, wait, is this, am I on a show? Like, is this the same girl? Like this girl, it's not like she's not attractive or anything, but guys need to know that women are artificially enhancing their photos. And it's funny because sometimes if they're in a group photo, they'll only artificially enhance themselves and like not enhance their friends. I don't know. It's weird, but that's important for guys to know. I feel like Instagram has put men down here, and like men have to do all this work with their life and they have to like grow and like build this business and do all this stuff to like become a more like successful, forward progressing guy, like a man in his prime, if you will. And they're not realizing that this photo you're looking at is not her and it's reducing your self-worth. So I want guys to know that, like, because the Instagram game, if you really start following a lot of these girls, it'll make you feel less. Like you'll start to feel like you are not that great of a guy. And like, I want guys to reclaim their power and understand like you offer so much life-changing value as a guy who's like moving forward in life. Like that's like, her parents would be so happy to have a guy who's like moving forward. He's growing. He like reads. He's trying to grow his business. Like he's trying to grow as a human being. Like those are all invaluable assets. And like a lot of guys forget that like that is life-changing value. And, a woman posting photos and artificially enhancing herself. Like I'm not discounting that there are a lot of like awesome women out there, but I just want guys to not feel less when they're looking at these women. Like you can go on Instagram and you can just tell, like look at the photo. If it's perfect and clear complexion, Facetune.
I'll have to tell my girlfriend about this.
Ask her if she knows about it.
Yeah.
Ask her if she knows about it. And most girls will say, I only use it a little, like only light touch up. Like they try to like minimize like the extent. Cause you can like use it and give yourself double D's. Like it's crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah. And you're out on the West Coast here too, right? It's like being at a restaurant. I mean, you see a picture, but you don't see what goes. I mean, this is an issue just with, we talk about business and stuff like that too. Maybe this is a good segue into it, but it's like, I call it the highlight reel effect, to where even though on a conscious level, you might go, okay, this is their one trip and they have that one perfect photo. In your head, when you just see all these people with those perfect pictures, you're like, my life sucks compared to this, right?
Absolutely.
It's like you look at, we were on Melrose and there's this like stupid pink wall and all of it. I don't know. Do you know where
Is it with the angels? Is it with the angels? With the wings?
They have like that. It's like next to that. There's one where it's literally just, it was smart of them to put this pink wall, but they literally have a security guard making sure that there's not professional photographers. And there's like 18 chicks that are like wannabe influencers. And remember, they're like, it's not just like, hey, I got my picture next to the pink wall. It's like, they got 30 different pictures. They're trying shirts on, shirts off. They're looking at the pictures. They're going back. There's like tripods,
like A/B tested,
reflectors and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is out of control.
It's out of control.
Yeah. And that's like pre the Photoshop and the Facetune or whatever, right?
Facetune, yeah. And this company is killing it, by the way, because it's a paid app. I think it's like $5 a month, and like it's like this company. The guy, I read an interview, and the guy was like, "I had no idea. Like we made it like to help, and then we had no idea that our whole company would be based around this app." And it's like,
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the dating stuff. Instagram is the new text, and like you can do the DM and the
I like
and the
that.
video message. Yeah.
I like that. That would have been nice to have. I was living the life then for sure. So
It's changed. It's changed. Yeah.
cool. Well, yeah, like I said, I think that's a good segue. And like what I was saying before we jumped on, because you're like, oh, I'm just doing this. This is kind of a passion project. And I'm sure
it is.
A lot of the entrepreneurs listening would be like, where the hell do you find time to write a 12-month long book and not be running the business and stuff? So that's kind of where things are and all that, and how that, like, how do hobbies, I guess, fit in too, right? Because we were talking.
Yeah. I'm playing guitar and.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. I think it comes down to values. Like I've been in, I don't know how long has it been, like 7. I'm not old or anything, but I think like 7 years or so, maybe 6 or 7 years. I've been, since I quit my job and started doing this full time. Like I've been around I would say like the whole belt of like being some sort of character of adding value online and, writing and, podcast and doing events and coaching and building a sales team and selling online courses and doing the whole like kind of shebang. Like I've done, I feel like the whole wheel. I don't know what else. I never got super heavy into affiliate marketing, but I feel like I've done pretty much everything. And when I look back at the things that I enjoyed the most, writing was one of them. Writing and doing these kind of conversations and podcasts, like I've done over 400 podcasts. And but writing though, like I have 3 books, and the first version of my book, obviously the one we've been talking about, and it's just what I wanted to do. Like after a while, like I didn't know what I was going to do with this money. Plus I'm just paying so much in taxes. Like I'm working my ass off, like just hustling. And then my CPA, he just like, all right, this is what you owe. And I'm like, dude, are you the best CPA? And it's like, it's kind of, it's like, it's the law. Like it's, we're all just following this.
Yeah.
We all just follow the law. And like, different CPAs may interpret the law differently, but ultimately like, this is what you owe. And every year it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm just like, wow, like I really just work for the government after a certain point. I'm a government employee, even though I quote unquote am an entrepreneur. Like I'm contributing so much to like the taxes. And so I was just like, man, what do I want to do? Like, I have some money here, and what can I do with my money that's going to allow me to make an impact, but something that I can enjoy my time with. And writing that book was one of them. I thought it was only going to take 8, maybe 12 weeks, but it ended up taking a year. But after a while, I just allowed it to happen. Like there was a point where I was like, oh no, like all this stuff, like I have a team and all this, and I just like, man, this is what I want to do though. Like I thought I worked so that I could be an entrepreneur so I can have freedom. But what I found was I was really like almost becoming a slave to, my team and the government, and just, not like some conspiracy thing, but I'm just like paying so much in taxes. And I just thought like, what can I use my money for? To like, I have freedom, I guess, like to choose what I would like to do. And I chose to write the book. It was not the best financial move. Like if you're like, Andrew, make another $1 million, I would not be like, all right, I'm going to spend 12 months writing on Microsoft Word. Like that's the worst. It is probably one of the furthest things I could do to like increase my income. But I can tell you, like, I think this book's going to impact a lot of guys. And to me, that feels really good. And it will sell. Like there will be funds made from it, but it's not going to happen right now. Like it's not a launch where like, money's coming in this week, nothing. Like I'm spending a lot of money on this book. I worked with first time I worked with like real writers to help me like write and to like build a real book, something that I feel would sell 1 million copies. So I think it comes down to your values. I think like really, if I was to ask you like, what would you like to do if you were free? Like, I think we can all sit down and within a minute, like start writing what that would look like. And so what I found is it's one thing to be self-aware. I know Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about self-awareness and how important it is. And it really is. I think it is like a critical part of becoming a grounded man, is knowing what you want and your values and things like that. But the hardest part is having the courage to take action on what you want. And that right there is like where I wrestled for a long time, because I ended up letting go. I like almost tore down my existing business model just to finish this book. Like I had sales team, I had employees, we had an office. And I just remember wrestling with friends like, wow, like what should I do here? Because like, this is where I want to go. And I could see myself writing like for the rest of my life. And I'm having so much fun. I think I'm actually pretty good at it. And all this other stuff is just there because one, it does add value. And I do care about making sure the client wins. But ultimately, like, I was really also just following the wheel of like this industry of like what all the things that you should be doing and not listening to like, what do I want to be doing?
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way about seminars lately, actually, where I'm like, you get implanted certain things. It's the whole like sort of guru model, right? Where you have the whole ladder,
Triangle or a funnel or whatever. Yeah.
I was just kind of like, why do I want to do that? And I'm like, I think it was just when you get into it, you get initiated and you see like the Tony Robbins and stuff like that.
Right.
The empire. And actually for me, it was an interest. You talk about values, because I was like, the way I always used to explain it was I said, I needed a little bit of fame or something like that. I like it when every so often people kind of come up to you but I realized actually that's not the case at all. What it is that I want the impact. And actually like by shifting the language, impact, there's like so many different ways to do that. I'm like, do you really need to have this giant, team and like, like the
answer is no.
And like the promotion and early bird tickets and I'm like, shit, well, I mean, we'll see in a couple of years, but I'm like, man, it's a lot easier being out here, same as yourself, like close to the ocean and kind of relaxing and having.
Yeah, I can see the ocean right here.
Yeah.
Here downtown. It's like, what do you want? And I think that question isn't necessarily incorporated so much in entrepreneurship. Like, it's like, what's going to make the most money? Like, what's going to grow the business? As if like you just literally become head slave of your company. You become like chief slave of your company. At least I'm speaking from my own experience, but I do know a lot of other of my friends who are successful entrepreneurs who there's a period where like, they're basically just a slave and they're not making that much money because they're just reinvesting, even though their numbers are crazy and they could like talk a big game if they needed to. But like, if you really, go behind the curtain, like, okay, what are you paying yourself? Because it's all paper money. It's nothing crazy. It's like, they're making less than most people who have jobs because they're reinvesting. And then, you have taxes. And then, I mean, that gets you right there, like kind of the truth behind it all. So I think when you really start to ask yourself, like, what do I want? It starts to work. It starts to make sense. Like my business this year will I will do less money this year, 100% than the last prior years because I chose to write this book. Like I acknowledge that, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and potentially over $1 million in revenue because I chose to write a book. And there was a lot of hard decision making, but I mean, it's done. Like I already did it and I'm excited for the future. And I hope that guys, when they pick it up and read it, that they can actually see like every word was crafted, meticulously for you. And I feel like I went above and beyond to my ability.
Yeah. I thought it was, like I said, very well done and like very fleshed out and a very logical. I was going to ask, so you had some like ghostwriters or just really good editors or? Yeah.
So I started I started looking at like authors who are like killing it. Like, I don't think a lot of people know, but there are authors out there who are like worth hundreds of millions. And obviously the biggest one, is billionaire J.K. Rowling. But like, there's a lot of authors who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars and all they do is write. And like, they're super successful and all they do is write. And then so I would start looking at some of these writers and I was like, all right, what are they doing here? That's a lot of money. Like, think about that. That's more money than like corporations make, like big ones with like dozens of employees or hundreds of employees. Anyways, they all have teams around them is what I realized. Even as a writer, there's still like other people that work with them to help articulate a story. They run things with people. And so that was like one of the funnest part of writing the book was working with artists. Cause like I always work with entrepreneurs. I work with guys who are like very like entrepreneurial minded and business minded. And so to work with someone who's like basically broke, but like they're very talented, artists, and unless they've made it.
Starving artist. Yeah.
It's a starving artist, but like, yeah. So I actually went to LA for these people because that's like the mecca of starving artists. I'm sure New York and other cities, but LA has a lot of great storytellers, specifically screenwriters. I mean, think about it. LA, like that's where it's at. And so I was able to connect with people who've worked on like real projects in Hollywood and had great storytelling ability. And I would work with them on my story, my breakup story, my story of getting started, my story of like learning how to talk to women, all those stories, I was working with other people. And it was just kind of almost like a breath of fresh air to work with people where it was just all about the actual art in front of us. It wasn't about what is this art going to get us. And that was really cool. Like that inspired me to like work with people like this more. Like I want more artists in my life. Even like I have a guitar instructor, and like he's been a guitar coach for like 30 years, and he's like the coolest guy I know right now. He's just like this old guy. He looks like he's like the singer of Green Day, but he's like 50 years old. He was like he's all tatted up, and he's old with like a beanie. Artists are just awesome people. So yeah, I worked with people on my book, and I wanted to treat it like it was like a movie project. Like it was a real project that I was putting together.
Cool. Getting towards the end here, I was interested as you're kind of going through this, what's next? It sounds like with your language here, you're kind of having a pivot in life.
Yeah, like, definitely.
Where do you see, I mean, from a book perspective, but just like, from an entrepreneurial perspective, where do you see the next 18 months or so?
It's really exciting. There is a pivot that has happened where like I have basically closed down large portions of my business because of the employees and just how much it takes out of me to run that side of the business to focus on writing. And I could see myself continuing to write. I have a ton of other books in my mind that I'd like to put together. And one of the things that I've been focused on lately is like, okay, what am I going to do with all these readers? I don't plan on having crazy events, maybe like seldom. I don't plan on having, big coaching programs. I don't plan on doing basically, everything that I'm supposed to do with someone who enters a community. And what I put together was a subscription of sort of like, I guess, like the Netflix of personal development for men, where I'm not necessarily, it's not like this high ticket thing. It's like a low ticket, low barrier entry thing. And it's just a community of guys. There's already several hundred in there. And I'm just creating content based off what they're asking me to create. So I obviously have stuff in there already, but I just want to build this library of epic content for guys that are looking to grow, be stronger, grounded men, and just have conversations that there just aren't being had anywhere else. And yeah, that's basically it. I built a subscription service for low ticket, like micro continuity. And that's where all the guys who are reading my books, like that's eventually what I would hope they would join. This is where you can find me. This is where the community is. We've all read the book. Come here. We have a ton of great content. And so I have my business is two things moving forward. It's books and a low ticket subscription continuity. And to me, I love it because it just comes down to like the passive recurring income. Like of all the different things I've done, those two things have been like the greatest like leverages into getting freedom. And like the book royalties, like they come in, that's great. And I feel so proud of when someone buys the book because I know I over delivered already on the book, and Amazon just takes care of it after that. And I just could see myself really, going heavier into that. And then the recurring subscription is like, there's a book called Subscribe. I highly recommend it for the readers and for yourself. It's like a green book. It's called Subscribe. And it basically talks about how like the future of successful business is having a continuity program, a subscription model, at least a subscription component. So you can look at like Netflix, like a lot of the fastest growing companies have a subscription component, Amazon Prime, and a lot of these services like Spotify, Salesforce, like think of anything that we do online that's like anything new and it's a subscription component, and how it's just so great for the business owner and also for the client because it forces the business owner to have to re-win the customer every month rather than having to like get new customers. Like you just continue to nurture and take care of your existing customers and then they stay with you. And so it's really this win-win. And then banks love it too because they can look at your business and they know exactly like what you're going to make. It's not like such a, like, oh, you did well here, but that's because you did a launch. Like, what about over here? So I highly recommend the book Subscribed. There's also Automatic Customer, but Subscribed, I feel, is like, it was more modern and did a good job. And I read that book, and that was when I started to look at my biz differently. And I got more into the subscription model. And I have several hundred guys in it now, and I could see there being thousands of guys in there. Like as I continue to write and the subscription continues to grow, it just seemed like if I wanted a perfect business where I could just add tremendous value and have freedom in my own life, the subscription component and royalties seem to be like, I don't know how it could get better. Like, so that's sort of the future there. But yeah, I'm launching this book, and I'm hoping to get it out there. And just, I think guys win when they get that book. If they're single or if they're in a relationship, because you're never supposed to stop dating your partner. Well, you want to remain attractive and be non-needy and non-approval seeking, and you don't want to do that when that's how you can just end up in a breakup. But yeah, I think guys just really, I think it's the solution that many guys have been looking for, but have been misled for many years.
Nice, man. Well, yeah, like I said, being a former expert myself, I guess maybe I can still consider that. You still are. I agree, man. There's really not, if a guy comes to me and he's like, you got a book on that? Like, the only one I can really think would be, like I said, David Data, but I feel like there's so much missing. And I feel like the masculinity shit is covered really well in here. And then it just goes beyond like the step-by-step. And it's a good distillation of a lot of the greatest stuff out there, So, and from your own experience too, right?
Right.
So, yeah, if you're a single dude, I highly recommend it, checking it out. So, and yeah, thanks for coming on the show again. Yeah,
it was honestly good connecting, and glad you're out here on the West Coast. You actually look brighter. Like you're, I don't know if like the sun is right on you, but like
I do have the window over here. So.
I feel like in Chicago, you were in like a dungeon. It was like overcast outside, like when we would chat like years ago.
Yeah, totally. Cool.